Altman and the Molotov cocktail is a repeat story throughout history because every wealth hoarder is too narcissistic to realize that they are not the exception. They all think, even though they have education, even though they know history, that they are the ones who are clever enough to figure out how to steal from all of us without dealing with the consequences. It's why we see the same patterns over and over again, across history, across types of economic systems. And this is why I talk about the importance of recognizing greed, narcissism, and psychopathy early on and not rewarding it. Because this was all incredibly predictable, and it's only going to get worse. In my book on the unwritten rules of work, in the class section in the introduction, I said, the U.S. is currently the country with the most billionaires in the world. The top 10% owns more than the bottom 90% combined. The bottom 50% of earners in America only make 3% of our wealth. There are many ways to explain this divide, but one of the most recent and vivid is the increased violence toward wealthy CEOs. One could argue that America is the most divided it has been since the Civil War. The murder of Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO, was the most unified our country has been in a long time. This was because of class. Americans across the political spectrum do not agree on the reasons why wealth inequality exists the way it does. People who lean conservative are more likely to tell you it's because wealthy people work hard and deserve it. People who lean liberal are more likely to tell you it is because of an unfair system where only a few can succeed and leech off the wealth of others. Yet, across these divides, two things were clear in this murder. One, most Americans had lived through someone they love or themselves being denied life-saving health care for money. And two, most people really fucking hate their boss. They know what it feels like to see someone become wealthy off your labor while they still struggle. Thompson was murdered a year and a half after memes exploded over the internet mocking the deaths of 5 billionaires in the Ocean Gate disaster. As I was finishing this book, Blackstone executive Wesley Patner was murdered in a shooting. Media across the political spectrum assured Americans that this was not a targeted shooting. Yes, Blackstone is one of the top corporate owners of single-family homes in the United States because yes, in this country, companies can purchase family homes and rent them back to us. And LePatner was the global head of real estate, but that was not the reason. Americans were doubtful until a note was found by the shooter. The gunman who murdered LePatner was actually meant to target the National Football League, NFL, which has an office on the same building as Blackstone. He had mistakenly entered the wrong floor where Wesley became his victim. The shooter never played for the NFL, but blamed high school football for his head injuries. The NFL has been accused of exploiting young men's bodies, pushing them on the field past what is physically safe for the sake of making their multi-billion dollars. So Americans were wrong in our assumption about which multi-billion dollar corporation was targeted for which harm. Our bad. Again, this is from my book, The Unwritten Rules of Work. It is full of examples of how these divides show up in your workplace and recommendations for if you're a leader who doesn't want to be a piece of shit who needs to be targeted with Molotov cocktails. And if you're a staff member who's trying to navigate this stuff without giving up your authenticity and giving into this system. We are past the point of just pretending things aren't happening, people. We are at the point where people are choosing violence and prison because it's so bad. Ignoring class in your workplace is not the way to go right now.